Hello, everyone. It's Kathleen with TreeSisters Creative Interviews, and today it's my honor to be here with the beautiful Nessi Gomes, singer, songwriter, musician extraordinaire, and straight to the heart. That's what her and I have been chatting a little bit now before this, and I'm in a very gentle, soft mood from having our conversation together. And I look forward to sharing her with you right now. Hi, Nessie.
Hi there, Kathleen. Thank you so much for having me.
It's so wonderful to have you here. And I met Nessie. I met you, Nessie, through one of her workshops she does called the Vocal Odyssey, which she normally used to do. You normally used to do in person, but because of COVID, it was opened up into online, into Zoom, and it was during a time that I really needed it. And I reached out to her immediately afterwards because I knew that she was so in line with the heart of TreeSisters. And but as we get into her journey, you'll all see why. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a little bit from her bio, as I normally do, and then we'll get into the deeper conversations. So Nessie was born on the tiny island of Guernsey in the Channel Islands in the UK. And singing and music became her way of dealing with challenging life circumstances. From a young age, she discovered the ability to transform discomforts and unspoken emotions by exploring sound, and has continued to root herself more in the therapeutic value of music. Your creative turning point was 10 years ago when you settled in the community of PachaMama in Costa Rica. We're going to talk all about how nature opened up for you and helped you shift a little bit more and actually find your destiny, your purpose with your calling here. Your most recent album was in 2016, and you've been touring internationally since in over 32 countries. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. I've lost
Yeah,
count.
everywhere basically in the world. And you also have a bachelor's degree in Creative Expressive Therapies in music and a certified holistic voice therapist, a BAST, in group and individual work. So yeah, so let's just dive right in because I know everybody wants to hear your voice. You're gonna sing for us today, and you're not even in your studio. You're somewhere else right now, but you're just gonna do it. You're just gonna show up, yeah, en natural, right? And I love it so much that you're doing that with us, Nessie.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
So you tell us a little bit about your journey and from your own words, and how particularly, like I said, I know you met your partner, Lino. Is it Lino? Yeah,
Lino,
it's
yeah.
Lina, in Costa Rica, in the forest of Costa Rica. So if you could just want to share a little bit of your journey, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess for me personally, when I first came to really meet my voice, it was at a very vulnerable time in my life. I was a young girl, teenager, 14, 15, and I was struggling a lot with mental health issues and depression and self-harming, all that kind of stuff. And growing up on such a small island in the 80s, at that time racism was pretty prevalent, and coming from a Portuguese family, I always felt that I was different to those around me in my community, which made me feel very isolated. And I mean, everybody at that age, I guess, goes through quite some kind of challenge. Um, but for me, it was a lot around my identity and not feeling fully connected to, you know, the place that I was born, and always feeling that something was wrong with me. And which I guess, again, this is probably something we kind of experience at some point in our life, right? And on top of that, you know, growing up in a Portuguese household where, you know, I quickly understood that women had different rights to men, you know, a very patriarchal household. And I say that with love and compassion. I have a very good relationship with my parents. But at the time, you know, at that time, it was very hard for me. So it was just a combination of different things that created this very challenging time in my life. And we didn't, you know, it wasn't an environment where I could freely share how I felt. Often things were swept under the carpet. So we didn't really talk about, you know, our feelings. And that kind of, yeah, this was just a huge concoction of challenging environment for me at that age. And I was always very sensitive. And what kind of got me through those really dark times was the voice. And it wasn't, you know, I didn't have any kind of musical background. I wasn't in any choirs, or I wasn't training with an instrument, but I was very intuitively drawn to express my voice. And often, you know, when I was staying with family members, my auntie in particular, she had a piano in her house, that I would find myself going there and kind of tinkling little melodies on the piano, even though, you know, I had no musical kind of knowledge. And it was just, for me, that it was a place for me to kind of create another world for myself through sound, where I could escape to, but also to kind of channel all this heaviness and this density that was really living within my body and my mind and my spiritual being. So that was kind of, I guess, a real starting point, that love affair with the voice. And I didn't have any technical skills. I couldn't sing, whatever that means, right? But I just remember that it made me feel good. And that was the beginning of my journey with voice. And some years later, I came across this whole course about therapeutic, using art as therapy. And that really inspired me, because that was my starting point. It was never about I wanted to become a singer. I just found myself being drawn to use my voice as a healing modality. I wasn't conscious that I was kind of doing that. You know, it wasn't really talked about so much at that time. You know, we didn't talk about, you know, therapy, voice, or, you know, stuff like that. So I knew that this was something that I wanted to embark on. I wanted to really go deep into the therapeutic value of music and arts and all those kind of areas. So I studied in the UK for 3 years, and it was a really amazing journey. And it was really in my last year that I had clarity that actually what I really wanted to go deeper into was the voice, not just music as a whole, but actually the voice as a therapeutic tool for, you know, spiritual evolution, for healing, for expression, for connecting to our truth, as well as singing, right? And then I studied with the British Academy of Sound Therapy some years later, but that didn't happen until after I was traveling South America. So after I completed my degree, I went back home and I worked for a couple of years. I was working with adults with physical disabilities and kind of taking my skills that I received from my course into that area, into that field of work. I was just very drawn to South America. I kind of came to the end of my 2 years in this, you know, wonderful place in Guernsey where I was working. And I just felt like, okay, I want to go away again. I'm going to treat this as like my last trip before I settle down, that kind of mentality. And I went away with a dear friend of mine who I studied with, and we traveled all over South America. And it was such an incredible place and really inspired me. And there was such a mystical element to South America that really drew me in. And it was when I was in Peru that I kind of, it was the first time I heard about ayahuasca, for example, and I was really curious about plant medicine, but I didn't feel it was the right time for me. And I kind of dropped it and I let go of this whole idea and continued on my travels, and was in Colombia for 3 months working with children, doing music with children, until I eventually went to Costa Rica, where I had a friend there that I was initially visiting. But I discovered and heard about a place called PachaMama, which was a few hours away where my friend was. Actually, it was probably longer. It would have been a few hours, but the roads are really bumpy there, so it took a lot longer to get there. And yeah, so I went to PachaMama, and you know, I looked at it on the website, and I applied for a work exchange program, which they still do. And I wanted to really immerse myself into this world. It was so, I mean, I'd heard of yoga and meditation, and, you know, throughout my earlier years, you know, I'd been kind of picking up self-help books and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, wow, this place looks amazing. And I was very, very curious about that and wanted to immerse myself into the community. I didn't want to just come as a visitor. And I thought the best way to do that is to work there. So that's what I signed up for. And I ended up going there, and it was you know what, actually I just thought it was like a yoga center that I was going to help out in the cafe, and it was actually like a full-on community with a lot going on. And it was quite a mystical arrival, just being dropped off at the bottom of the road by the bus, and had my backpack and my kind of beaten up guitar like hanging off the side. And it was probably about an hour's walk still until I got to PachaMama. And I remember seeing the first house and knocking on the door, and I was like, hi, do you know where PachaMama is? And he goes, you are in PachaMama. And I was like, hey. So then, yeah, I ended up being there for what was supposedly meant to be 5 weeks, and I ended up living there for 3 years. And I met my husband there, which was, you know, the kind of reasoning why I wanted to stick around. And I was very curious about this place. You know, it was an amazing place, not only as a temple for, you know, self, you know, development and discovery, but the environment, the nature around, the way they took care of the land, and you know, the ceremonial kind of aspect of this place, and how it really connected me to nature and rekindled that that connection to the spirit of land, and seeing it more than just a physical thing, but a spiritual thing. And you know, I grew up, you know, my background, I grew up in a Catholic upbringing, and God and that whole concept of spirituality it came from a place of fear, right? A place of we are sinners and all that kind of stuff. And so it kind of severed this connection for me a little bit. But what I kind of received from being in PachaMama and, you know, working with plant medicines is it gave me that, it reconnected those parts of myself. I always knew that there's something bigger than us, right? But really that kind of got healed in PachaMama, and you know, praying to the land and respecting the land and the animals. And you know, it's a beautiful little sanctuary. You know, they bought this piece of land, some probably now 30 years ago. And it was just old, kind of like, it was just used for grazing and for animals, and there was no trees, there was nothing. It was just kind of, in Guanacaste, this particular area of Costa Rica is so hot, and it's, there's a lot of land that is used for farming, so there's not many trees, there's not many forests. But the people that bought PachaMama and that created PachaMama, they planted hundreds and hundreds of trees that over the years just grew and created this amazing little oasis. So it's really fascinating, that whole journey.
It is, yeah.
And for me, I feel like my life started in PachaMama, or a new life, a new cycle of my life started. And I'd already been on the journey with the voice, but it just got deeper in my time and, in Costa Rica. And I guess after, by, at the end of 3 years, Lino, my husband, who'd been there for 13 years, he said, I think it's, I feel like it's time to leave and to go. And, we had a home there. All our friends were there. But it was a calling, and it was very much, I guess the catalyst for that as well was the music, and feeling it was time to kind of, I feel like I'd been in an incubator for 3 years, just kind of, I've been a musician for many years, but the way I was kind of composing music and my connection to music and my connection to my voice changed in those years in PachaMama. And it was like an incubator process, and it was just time to kind of leave the nest and share the music. And it was literally a little seed. I had no idea how it was going to unfold. It was very scary in the beginning, because it was like, wow, what am I doing? Like, I'm leaving this and I'm going to go back home to Guernsey or to England, we didn't know where we were going to be, because Lino is originally from Israel. And so for a couple of years we were in limbo land. But the music always guided us. And it was when we settled in the UK that I started to make my album. All the songs that were born in PachaMama and after PachaMama, I started to create with my producer, and Lino was like the driving force behind it all as well. Just really very supportive of that journey. And through that, then I had the clarity of wanting to kind of dive more into voice work, as in addition, like I saw it as another branch to my tree, and because I was very passionate about that path, and people had slowly started to kind of approach me and asked me if I would be happy to give them singing lessons. And I was never really drawn into that direction, because my background isn't about the technical aspect of the voice, right? It's more about the relationship to our voice and how to connect to our voice in an honorable way, that to really kind of encompass all those aspects of who we are. For me, the voice is a mirror to our life, like it's a mirror to what's going on inside of us in each given moment. And some of us feel very cut off from our voice and from our expression. And for me, what was really inspiring me was to create a real safe container where people could really meet their voice, in all its shades and all its colors. And, sharing, I guess, my journey with my voice, because like I mentioned, it's not that I was given a voice straight away. It's I built a relationship with it, and it really helped me through the hardest moments of my life. And I wanted to create that space for other people to really meet that. So it's not just for, the talented, it's for everyone, right? It's our birthright.
Right.
So, and yeah, since then I've just continued. And you know, I mean, my album was released in 2016, then I had my daughter in 2019, but the workshops, they've been kind of running solidly, really, even during the pandemic. Like you mentioned, you know, we moved it onto an online platform, which I had a lot of resistance in the beginning because I was so used to being in a physical space. And I still love that, right? I wouldn't give that up at all.
Yeah.
But it was amazing to really have that container online for people to still experience that depth in a different way, right? In a different
Absolutely. Yeah. And to have more people, I mean, the one that I joined with you, there was, I think, almost 500. And I think it was your first one.
yeah.
And, you know, just people from all over the world, kind of at this time of the pandemic, you know, being brought into that place, into that journey that you had been living, you know, not something planned or, you know, kind of set up, but rather experience that you were sharing with everyone that, you know, was joining. And it was 4 days, I believe, 4 days long.
It was 2 days. It
Was
was
it?
a
It felt longer to me
yeah,
in a good way, in a good way.
yeah. Yeah, it was a Saturday and Sunday. We do them
And
on the weekends so that it
it's
can.
so immersive. That's why it felt so, you know, maybe I had been preparing on Friday but I know that I carried it with me for weeks, you know, and just all of the ways, you know, in which you share that, you know, the nature of our voice, not the singing piece of our, you know, not the technical pieces like you're saying, but the nature of the sound that vibrates. I think you call it sonic expression.
Yeah,
You know, the way that it vibrates and the way that we block it, and you know, the different places in our body that are stopping, you know, and saying no, not there. And you know, it was so interesting how you, you know, it was around our senses and the
yeah,
tones and our emotions, and it was just, yeah, I just fell in love with your work, and you know, through that course. And I was just lucky enough just to come across it. You know, you did win, is it best unsigned female um, singer or musician in 2016 for the UK. And I remember, you know, hearing your voice at that point, and it sounded that there was maybe one or two voices singing at one time. I don't know if it's something to do with how you sing, which we're going to hear in a little bit. But I was like, well, how does she, you know, like one voice is hard enough to come through, but I could hear melody from you, and harmony seemed to be happening through your voice. So
mm,
I wonder if that's something that you recognize in your own voice, that there's kind of a
yeah,
multitude opens up.
yeah. I think, like, you know, I think this was one of the gifts that I received once I started working with plant medicine, was how to really deeply listen to your inner geographies. You know, we can always open our mouth and give sound, right? But
Yeah.
how to really tune into all those subtleties that are going on simultaneously within us. You know, the emotional landscape, the things that we feel physically in our body. It could be like you know, a subtle ache or pain, or maybe it feels really good, right? And how to combine those things, how to really collect all those different, you know, that's, for me, that's how I visualize it. You know, I'm sure each person does it differently, but for me it was really like deep listening. So not just with your ears, right? Not just
Right.
how do I hear with my ears, but how to
Mhm.
hear, deeply listen within,
Yeah.
and really holding all these different textures. And I feel like maybe that's something that I kind of received through those earlier years of, you know, the depression and the real darkness that I was experiencing, and the fact that there was nobody to talk to in my family, that it was just so alive in me.
Mhm.
I don't know, like, it's just a real yeah, for me, it's very 5D. I don't even know if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's what it sounds like. And, I imagined in PachaMama that within the the careful tending of the land there, that, you're listening opened up and I into the earth. And I know that, in the workshop, you referred to that as well. And, you know, the, it's the deep listening of our nature, and that opens up like the chasm of the planet, the heart of the planet, and sort of tapping into that. We're never alone. We're never, as you said, you had no one to share with. And I know we've all been in places like that, right? But, to different degrees. But being able to know that that Earth is there, Pachamama is there, Gaia is, that we can tap into, that we are part of, that we're related to, and one of my favorite songs is All Related. And, it, it's it's that, I think, and it's unexplainable, really. It's an experiential type of process. And I'm really happy that you and I had talked about a little bit, and we haven't decided on anything for sure. But I've invited you to kind of come in and just share a little bit of, this process with the rest of the Tree Sisters in time and in the future. And I think that, most of our Tree Sisters, or all of them really, are listening really deeply to the earth, and to connect that with our voice, with the feminine voice, and with the nurturing that we need to give back to reciprocate to Earth and all that she's done for us. It seems that's what that tone also is doing, that you move to. All of the people are like, yes, I mean, they know it, and we've lost touch with that, and we've lost touch with our voice and our expression, and our like everything that you're doing and have done is sort of a storyline that fits right in. And I really appreciate that you're a Tree Sister now. And I just wanted to thank you publicly for planting trees, being a soul trees partner with us. And, it's just part of everything that you are. And, but I just wanted to thank you publicly and about that.
Well, thank
It's
you for what an amazing, cause and platform. For me, it's, you know, one thing is like one of my gifts, one of the gifts that I've received from the music is being able to share it and touch hearts. That, of recent, I want to give back in other ways, so to be able to support Tree Sisters and be a Tree Sister myself and be part of that community, it feels good. It feels right for me, especially in these times where the earth needs that support. And I guess also because of my journey, and I know that, I've traveled so much with my work, and we were
Mhm.
sharing a little bit earlier about that, and how that always kind of, it didn't always sit well for me, the fact that I would get on all these flights and here and there, and, and the fact that now that I have also the online platform, it's something that I won't get rid of even when things open up. But to also, I'm also for the fact that I don't want to travel as much.
Yeah,
I
you have
don't
a
want
young
to,
family, and
being a mother and just having that routine, but also for the earth,
yeah.
and so I feel really honored to be part of this community and to give back in the
Mhm.
best, in the way I can. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for, joining arms with us. And, that's the reason I'm here too. It gives me purpose. It completes what I live my life is. I'm receiving so much, especially without nature, there is no life. And I'm not exactly sure how everyone hasn't gotten that yet. Um, the one thing I think you do have a workshop coming up, right, in September,
Not in September, actually. I moved it to November.
November. Okay. Oh yeah, I see that
Yeah,
here.
November 6th and 7th.
Okay.
And also
Yeah.
one exam. I generally do them kind of like once a month in the autumn, winter time.
Yeah.
So
I'll
yeah, I
put a link for it, below
yeah,
anything. But can we hear you sing?
yeah. I hope I'm gonna be all right.
Oh, you know what? I just want to let everybody know this was sort of off the cuff because Nessie is actually on a she's not living at home. Well, I think I mentioned it. You're not at home right now, and so you don't have any of your. This is all going to be raw, straight, normal computer audio and all of that. But I already know it's going to be amazing. What is the song that you're going to sing for us?
Well, I'm actually going to sing All Related.
Oh, you are. Oh, I love this song. Okay, perfect. And the style of music is the fado. Is it fado?
Fado. Yeah, it's kind of inspired, like it's like this Portuguese old traditional kind of bluesy folk music
Mm.
that's inspired, but it has its own twist as well. It's many influences and inspirations. I might have to tune my guitar. I hope that's all right. I'm sorry about
No,
that.
that's fine. No worries. I
I
think,
can't bear to have any.
I love this off the cuff.
Yeah.
It also shows us like the ways in which we can, we don't have to show up perfectly all the time and that we can
That's it.
be in our nature and just get
Real.
rid of all that stuff,
Oh,
right?
I know. It's so much more liberating just to be like, this is how it is right now in this moment. Okay, I think we're all good.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to play the whole song because it's kind of long, or do you want me to just play a section of it?
Whatever you feel like, we can do as long as you want. How long is it?
It's probably about 5-6 minutes.
Okay, well let's go for wherever you want to stop. How's that?
Okay.
I'm gonna put it on a full view of you.
All right. Okay. Grande Espírito, agradeço, PachaMama, Wakantanga, Tonkashila, agradeço, PachaMama, en el cielo, con los pájaros que vuelan, las oraciones y amor, misterio de la luna, amor, mi vida preciosa, amor, dame fuerza, amor, confía en sí. I crossed over anxious spirit, lost my knowing, confused senses, ancient voices spill their secrets, taking footsteps with our mother, all related, broken hearted. No more darkness with this love. We all related in love. Give me strength in this love. We all related in love. Give me strength in this love. We all related.
Oh, I'm so emotional right now. Ooh, thank you so much. That so touched me. It touches me so deeply, and hearing you do it in person with us,
Thank
it,
you.
really special, really special. Thank you so much for the healing that you've carried with you since you were a little girl, and that connection that you found in music and earth and your voice, and for sharing it with everyone else. And it's opens our hearts and connects us to our soul and our truth, and that's what we need right now, and to connect to the nature of who we truly are. And I really deeply, deeply appreciate the work that you're doing, and I'm so thrilled to to have you with us, to have you as part of our community, and it gives me hope, a lot of hope. And I'm so happy to share you with everyone else on this call. And I'll put links of your songs, but the properly recorded ones. But this one, it was just amazing that you could just do that right over the computer like that. So
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
yeah, if you could. If you could share with everyone right now just one thing or two, I don't want to narrow it down too much, but what you would share as something like advice for people who want to connect to their truth, their voice, the nature of who they really are, what would that be, Nessi?
I guess my go-to would be something so simple but yet so profound. If any of you out there listening and you find yourself in that kind of space of not knowing how to connect to the voice, or feeling afraid of your voice, or just gently just start by literally maybe having a hand on your chest and gently humming into your body, literally just allowing the sound to gently vibrate. So not even focusing too much on what it sounds like or the shape of the sound, but just feel the vibration move into the body first. And maybe you want to bring an intention into that space. Maybe after you've been kind of working with the voice and gently activating it, maybe think of an intention. It doesn't have to be around the voice, right? Maybe it can be something that you're passing through in your life. Maybe it's an emotion that you're feeling quite strongly in this moment. Or maybe it's a memory that keeps coming up for you. It can be something that fills you with joy, but it can also be something that weighs heavy on your heart. And just feel into that for a moment. Just take a moment to feel into whatever it is you're wishing to connect to. And then slowly give it a sound. Yeah, so again, it's not the shape of the sound, it's not necessarily how loud your sound can be, but the intention of the sound. Use the voice as the bridge to that part of your life, whether it's a physical thing, an emotional thing, a spiritual thing. Maybe it's everything. Yeah, maybe it kind of combines into all those areas. And just to drop this pressure or this idea of what your voice should sound like. Allow your voice to lead you in that moment and to give it a sound, to give that feeling, that physical sensation a sound, or to give that memory a sound, or to give that emotion a sound. It might not necessarily sound very beautiful, but the most important thing is connecting to the sincerity of that moment. And just see where the voice takes you. Allow your voice to lead you. And if the voice, if those thoughts come in like, oh, the judging or the criticize, that inner critic, which we all have, including myself, see if you can just ask that part of yourself just to make space for this moment. You can always go back there. You can always criticize yourself or judge yourself. But for that moment, can that part of yourself just step aside? If it needs to sound messy, if it needs to, be very primal in its expression, if it needs to give a sound of if it's a cry or anything that you wish to connect to, it can be anything. For me, this is something that I can easily just go to, as if I'm feeling heavy or if I'm like, I can't put words to that memory or to that, that emotional feeling, just to release it, and maybe in the beginning you're noticing that your voice is kind of still a little bit restricted or and it's responding to your thoughts. So naturally, if there's resistance, it's going to close, but don't give up. Just keep working with it until the sound feels softer and sweeter. Then that kind of gives an indication that you're moving through some resistance as well. So that's something.
That's beautiful. That's big. That's really big. And what I'm imagining is there's a lot of grief and sorrow for the loss of, our planet, and a lot of TreeSisters are feeling it. A lot of people in the world are, and I feel that it would be something beautiful to hold that grief as well, and to honor that grief, and to do that out in nature and by the trees, and just practice to exactly like you said, and even sitting or standing in whatever way. I know that I did. I was on the beach when I did your course, and it took me days and days to get anything really out like that. And it's still not fully out. And but I've been holding it for a long time, so it really depends, right? Like, we could have been holding a lot of this, for our whole entire lives, and so I believe it's a beautiful practice. And thank you. I hope that all TreeSisters will try it in one way or another. It doesn't mean, like you said, it doesn't mean you don't have to use it for something that's full of your grief. It could be whatever is your intention. But I know.
And also, sometimes that concept in itself can be quite challenging for some people. And something I like to remind us as well is, like, if you can't do it for yourself, then do it for the planet. Do it, you know, I had this vision as you were speaking, like just going to a tree or to a piece of land, anything in nature that hasn't, it's not even about you, right? Remove yourself from the equation and just, you know, place your hands on that tree, on that trunk of that tree, and how does it feel to connect to that tree and give it sound, or to sing to that tree, or to sing to the land, to be in service, using our voice as a source of prayer and healing, rather than, you know, sometimes we can get so caught up with our own story and, you know,
but the stories are connected, you know. That's what I realized too, you know, that we are so related, as your song says, that we are feeling the grief that Earth is feeling our grief. And if we can listen closer to ourselves and to nature, that it is one and the same that we're listening to. And it feels like that's what we tune into when we're listening to you, you know, is this sound that is a combination of the expression of earth and the expression of yourself and your family and, you know, the ancestry that you come from, and just everything that has been coming through us for so long, that has been stifled or stopped or suppressed, or, you know, trying to turn your frown upside down, or whatever, you know, different cliche things about not expressing our truth and our emotions. You know, listening is a really, like you said, giving voice, listening to earth and allowing that voice to come through us, that, you know, that I feel earth is being expressed by us, is that this is our challenge and our opportunity at the same time.
Absolutely.
And I think you really do that in a very unexplainable way, really. There's nothing that, you know, we can't explain everything, and I don't want to. You know, I love the mystery that is evoked in this conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been beautiful, and I'll share all of that with the links, and, you know, to some beautiful videos that you have as well. And we'll start to cook something up for like a little, you know, every year now since I think 2007, we have been doing a practice called Sing for the Trees, or To the Tree and To the Trees. And a couple other singers, Liz Terry and Susan Hale, have been working with that with us for Earth Day. And this is just another layer of, you know, you're bringing this in for us as well. And it's time. The voice needs to be expressed and liberated. And I appreciate the work you're doing in 30 something countries in the world, and growing. So thank you, Nessi. Thank you for this time today. It's been really beautiful.
Yes, totally. Thank you so much. I've loved speaking with you.
Did you want to say anything else before we go? Or?
Just thank you to everyone that has been tuning in, and sending everybody so much love and strength in these somewhat challenging and uncertain times.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you later.